Good evening, everyone. It is 6 p.m. and a quorum is present, and the meeting has been duly called and posted in the time and manner required by law. I would like to invite the Reverend Paul Carpenter, the senior minister at First Christian Church, to open our meeting with a prayer and to lead the audience in the pledges of the American and Texas flags. Thank you.
Let us pray. Heavenly Father, we thank you for this night, that your love and kindness watches over each of us. We thank you, Lord, that we're here to celebrate success, face problems, seek answers, and continue on. Lord, we thank you for entrusting this team, this culture, for fostering growth and success in our students and in our teachers. As a father to some of these students, Lord, I thank you for the efforts and the decisions made here. We continue to pray, Lord, that you would bless the Lubbock Independent School District, that our teacher retention rate would remain high, that we would have enough funding, that our students would believe in themselves, that the authority our teachers have would be useful to influence our students to grow, and that at the end of the day we would pause to give you all the glory. We seek your blessing now, Father, along with your peace, as we gather for this meeting. We ask this in the name of your Son, Jesus. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
Thank you, Reverend Carpenter. We appreciate you being here and sharing those inspirational words with us. Thank you very much. Okay. Well, we have some recognitions to kick off our summer meeting. So without further ado, I would like to invite Chad Haskins, he's the Advanced Academics Coordinator, to the podium. Chad.
Well, it's very, very weird saying good evening, so good evening, President Bridges, Dr. Rollo, ladies and gentlemen of the board. As always, this is one of my favorite activities of my job, is to be able to recognize these outstanding academic motivated individuals. The University Interscholastic League Academic Contest offers the most opportunities to compete in 30 different events, including contests such as math, science, speech, debate, journalism, and activities related to STEM. These contests, which exist to complement the academic curriculum, are designed to motivate students as they acquire higher levels of knowledge, to challenge students to confront issues of importance, and to provide students with the opportunity to demonstrate mastery in specific skills. Students are challenged to think critically and creatively, exhibiting much more than knowledge and comprehension. For this reason, the UIL academic competition supports the board goal of being a district of choice for the community by providing high-quality programming for students. Excuse me, sorry. All students, whether they advance to state or not, gain unique experiences, skills, and knowledge by competing in UIL. Students and teams who place in the top of their event at the district meet advance to the region meet, and students who place in the top 3 of the region meet advance to the state meet. I'm proud to recognize 4 students from Lubbock ISD who have achieved this accomplishment and advanced to the UIL state academic meet after strong performances of the regional meet in April. We'll start with Coronado High School. Our first student to be recognized is Will Edwards. Will placed 2nd place in accounting at the region meet and 11th in the state meet. Okay, our next student to be recognized is Owen Edwards. Owen placed 1st in computer applications and 5th at the region meet and 5th at the state meet. Okay, our next student from Coronado is Max Campbell, and Max could not be here tonight, but Max placed 2nd in computer applications at the region meet and 3rd at the state meet. The Coronado High School team was coached by Brent Chamberlain. All right, our next student to be recognized is from Monterey High School. Please help me recognize Caleb Tipton. Caleb finished second place in spelling at the region meet and third place at the state meet. Another note about Caleb is this is his second year to advance and place high in the state competition. So congratulations, Caleb. And Caleb was coached by Leah Thorne.
Thank you so much, Chad. We appreciate you coming up and presenting those scholars to us. So now we're going to move to recognition of state qualifying destination imagination teams. I would like to invite Linda Landine, who's the principal of Waters Elementary and the Northwest Plains DI Regional Director, to the podium. Linda.
Good evening, Board of Trustees, Dr. Rolo. I am so honored to recognize some outstanding students that did an outstanding job this year in Destination Imagination. 9 Lubbock ISD Destination Imagine teams advanced to the 2024 Lone Star Finals State DI Tournament after competing at the Northwest Plains Regional Tournament. Teams from Waters Elementary, Ramirez Elementary, Hutchinson Middle School, Talkington School of Young Women Leaders, and Lubbock High School advanced to the state tournament. Lubbock ISD was also awarded 4 bonus spots for additional teams from Lubbock High School, Talkington School of Young Women Leaders, and Smith Elementary, bringing the total number of teams competing to state to 13 teams. This is the most Lubbock ISD teams that have ever advanced to the state tournament in DI, so we're pretty excited about that. In addition, 4 Lubbock ISD teams qualified and competed at the Destination Imagination Global Finals on May the 28th. Ramirez Elementary finished first in the technical challenge, beating teams from all across the United States, as well as China, Turkey, and many other foreign countries. This was the first time a DI team from Ramirez Elementary qualified for global finals, so that is exciting for them. We're so excited for them. Also competing at global finals were 2 teams from Waters Elementary and a Hutchinson Middle School team. The service learning team from Waters Elementary placed 4th. The fine arts team from Waters Elementary placed 21st. And the Hutchinson Middle School service learning team placed 12th at global. So congratulations to those teams. So now it's time to recognize these teams individually. We'll start off with Ramirez Elementary. They competed in the technical challenge, and their members are Marlo Barnes, Mason Crawford, Eliana Garza, Jordan Lazoya, Sawyer Melendez, one of their team members, Eva Winningham, was not able to attend, but we also would like to recognize her, and their team manager, Stephanie Barnes.
All right, Ramirez, let's come back to here. What did you do that?
Okay, let's have big smiles. 1, 2, 3.
The next team is Waters Elementary Fine Arts Challenge. Aubrey Hart. Kinsley Castaneda. Emma Castro. Noah Castro. Elizabeth Eldridge. Madden Laura. And Mackenzie Rangel. Their team managers are Amanda Eldridge and Jamae Randolph.
Oh, yeah, you gotta go.
Big smiles, 1, 2, 3.
The next team is Waters Elementary, their service learning team. Brittany Bradley. Jacob Gilmore. Marley Guerrero. Grayson Lee. Jake Salceda. Lyndon Strawman. Jasmine Tijerina Landine. And their team managers are April Salceda and Stacy Donini. Next we have Smith Elementary, the service learning. We have Scarlett Atkins. Jameson Epler. Gatlin. Natalie Hogan. Azure Moore. Merrick Poponts. And Bruceas Romero. Their team managers are Luann Gatlin and Darbra Poponts.
Smith, we're gonna come out here and take a group picture.
And big smiles. 1, 2, 3.
Going to move on to the middle level. We have Hutchinson Middle School with service learning. We have Presley Davis. We have Kylie Funk. We have Carson Funk. Elena Tijerina Landine. And their team managers are Melissa Funk and Doak Funk.
Okay, now group photo, y'all. Come back this way.
Like we just came.
I know, it was fast.
You can't get out of that belly.
We have Talkington School of Young Women Leaders. We have Araceli Carson. Other members that could not be here were Natalie Alfaro, Olivia Phillips, Mabel Roller, and their team managers are Kim Turner and Lindsay Fitzhugh. Talkington School of Young Women Leaders Fine Arts Team, we have Adeline Holbein. Other team members that could not be here are Faith Barbie, Lila Fowler, Anna Garbreth, and Allison Phillips. And their team managers are Tim Turner and Lindsay Fitzhugh.
All of Talkington?
Two more.
Oh, two more Talkington.
I think there's two more.
Middle. And this is secondary level, Talkington School of Young Women Leaders. We have Paige Dunn, and we have Alicia Huerta.
Okay, let's do a photo.
I think that's,
Wait,
I don't have that one.
isn't there, I thought there was one more team. Oh, okay.
Come off the wall. There you go.
And 1, 2, 3.
We have a Lubbock High School in the Engineering Challenge. We have Anthony De La Cruz. Other members that could not be here was Kira Alvarado, Aiden Herrera, Jordan Hill, Emmy Hawker, and Savannah Majors. Their coaches are Jennifer Harris and James Harris. We have the other Lubbock High School team for Fine Arts. We have Kyla Bueno. Other members that could not be here was Sarah Haycoon, Emily Go, and Giselle House. And their team managers are Jennifer Harris and Amelia Shea. I think that wraps it up. I just want to say a big thank you to the Board of Trustees for always supporting the Destination Imagination program. And Dr. Rollo, we truly appreciate your support. And I want to also give a big shout out to those team managers who spend endless hours with those students, working with them. They couldn't do it without them. And also their parents. We have some great parental support, and we couldn't do it without them. So thank you so much.
Thank you. All right, audience, we will give you time to kind of transition. If you need to leave, we'll have just a couple minutes for you guys to go pick up your kids if you need to, and we'll get reset in just a minute.
Linda, thank you so much for what you do.
We sprained it from up here. You mean that? We did.
Just saying.
Yes. Okay. Okay, we're going to go ahead and proceed with the rest of our agenda. But before we move into trustee comments, I would like to invite Heather Lara to come forward. Heather, if you're here. Heather was hired as the principal of Rush Elementary School last month, but she was not able to be here because you were with the DI team, right?
Yes.
So
That's a
much
good
fun.
reason.
Good reason. So, congratulations, Heather, on your appointment. We're so pleased to have you here, and would like to give you a few moments.
Thank you. Well, good evening, Dr. Rolo, President Bridges, and Board of Trustees. Becoming a principal has definitely been a professional goal of mine, but not only that, it's also been a personal one as well. And so as I stand here today, I'm filled with gratitude for the trust that you have all placed in me to lead Rush Elementary. First and foremost, I want to express my heartfelt thanks to the interview committee, to Dr. Rolo, and to the board for their confidence in my ability to guide and nurture the school community. I would also like to take some time to thank some of the amazing mentors that I've had along the way since starting my career back in 2009. Elsa Montez, Christy Gillespie, Vicki Jordan, along with Jocelyn Cotton, and then Linda Landine. So I've had amazing mentors that have supported me all along the way. Their leadership and their guidance has definitely helped to develop me as a person and as a leader in more ways than I could explain in this short time with you today. So I'm so grateful for their willingness to continue to grow me and to pour into me over the years. I would also like to take a moment to, I have a lot of family here with me, so I want to celebrate them as well, because without them I could not do what I've done for the last 15 years of my career. Today I have my dad, David, my stepmom, Belinda, who is a secretary at Wheelock Elementary here in LSD, my mom, Leanne, and then my two kiddos over here, Madden, who is going into middle school, and I don't know how that is possible. So he'll be attending Evans, and then Mason, she is 5 and will be going to Rush with me in kindergarten. So I'm excited to bring her along on this journey with me. And then last but not least, I have my husband, Merce, who has been by my side this whole time, and he does every crazy idea that I have, and he doesn't even ask questions, he just does it. So I'm so thankful for him, and without that row of people as my village, there's no way that I could be where I'm at today, so I'm so grateful for them. Lastly, as I start this new chapter, I'm filled with so much excitement and compassion. I am very eager to collaborate with my feeder pattern, Mackenzie and Coronado, and my fellow admin there, to continue the wonderful things that are already in place to support them there. So thank you again for this incredible opportunity, and I'm excited to be a Roadrunner. Thank you.
I will now open the floor for trustee comments.
So glad to have you with us. Thank you very much.
Okay, I'll go second.
No, you go right ahead.
Okay, I'm going to go second. Reverend Carpenter prayed for success tonight, and I certainly see a lot of that in here. These kiddos, I know, spend a lot of time on DI and these other things, and I understand some of that competition went into the summer. So for everyone to show up in the summertime and put forth all that effort, and then show up here tonight on their summer break, I think that's pretty impressive. Heather, we haven't got to know each other yet, but I look forward to getting to know you. I'm very excited to have you at Rush, and I've got a kiddo there too, so we'll share that this coming school year, and I look forward to all the great things you're going to do. Thanks.
Congratulations. It shows your passion. I admire that about you because it shows. The first time I've met you, I'm sure I've seen you, but definitely, but you know what, you're right, it takes a village, and it looks like you have an amazing village behind you, so God be with you on your new journey. We're here to support you in whatever we can do to help you. Please do reach out.
I would just say congratulations, best of luck. I know it's a a new challenge that you're going to rise to and do fantastic work. To the students and to the parent volunteers, to the administrators that spent, like John said, a lot of kids and faculty, everyone's getting ready for the end of the year, getting ready to celebrate summer, and y'all are still plugging along all the way, in some cases, all the way to nationals. Outstanding job, and thank you all so much for what you do.
Jason said it so well. Linda, you've been doing DI since I was a parent, I think, of a DI kiddo. So thank you for our parents and what this board has done prior to us joining the team to support DI. And congratulations, looking forward to the great things you're going to do at Rush.
Heather, congrats. Big things to come. Thank you for your investment in DI, and Linda, as well as you and all the others. It's super cool to see how many kids were affected by DI. And I imagine if we had all the state competitors in here, we'd have the entire building full. So super proud of those kids and love that they have that opportunity to excel.
Yeah, DI has a special place at Lubbock ISD, so I'm thrilled to see all these kiddos and their families who are wearing the T-shirts that they had. It's great to see you here. And Heather, your family being here, I know that's important, so congratulations. Dr. Rollo?
Just congratulations to all of our DI students. DI definitely has a special place in my heart, as 2 of our 3 sons competed in DI throughout their elementary careers. So Linda, I just want to say thank you. Thank you for what you do on top of your full-time job of being a principal. Being the director of our Northwest Plains DI is a huge job, and we just are so grateful for your investment in that. And Heather, we are so excited about the direction of Rush Elementary with your leadership in the future, and we are very proud of you, and congratulations.
All right, we're going to move on to the next item on our agenda, call public hearing. It is 6:32 p.m. and we will now open the called public hearing. The purpose of this public hearing is to discuss the 2024-2025 fiscal year budget and hear comments from the public on the 2024-2025 proposed tax rate. Is there anyone here who would like to make comments to the board on either of these topics? Okay, hearing none. If there's no further discussion regarding the 2024-2025 proposed tax rate, we will close the hearing and reconvene the regular meeting of the board. The time is now 6:33 p.m. and this public hearing is closed. Next item on the agenda is citizen comments. No citizens signed up in advance to speak. We will now move into the business portion of this meeting. Do we have any members of the public who would like to address the board regarding any of the posted board agenda items? Sure. Can come forward. We'd ask which board agenda item you would like to discuss or address, and remind you that you have 3 minutes if you would state your name.
Sure. My name is Cyrus Karoum. I have 2 students in school here. The item I'm going to address on the agenda is the time of the board meeting and the placement of this, which I think is great. It's not necessarily technically a board agenda item, but I think it's great that you guys are doing a meeting this time of day where people can come who are working. This is the first board meeting I've attended because I haven't been able to come because of my job. And there are a lot of parents that are in the same situation. There are also a lot of teachers that would like to be able to come to this meeting. I think that it's a great place to do it, and having this time of day is great. So thank you guys for having that opportunity open. One thing I would comment on was, because of the time of the meeting, is that this is the first meeting watched several meetings online as I am starting my work day, but I've never seen a meeting that didn't have any citizen comments. This meeting didn't have any citizen comments because no one signed up within the cutoff was 72 hours ago. So when I found out this meeting was happening now 2 hours ago. I didn't know that it was, and so I would encourage you to not say that this was a poorly attended meeting, that there's no citizen comments or anything like that, because as far as I know, no one I knew about this meeting. I know a lot of very involved parents and very involved people who would like to comment on this thing, but no one knew about it. And so please give an evening meeting another chance, and please advertise it and make sure people know that this is happening, because I'm glad I could be here, but it's something that I think if you publicize it, people will come. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other members of the public that would like to address a posted agenda item? Okay, hearing none, we're going to move on to item number 6, financials. All right, we're going to have approval of the budget summary reports for the months ending May 31st, 2024, budget amendments and budget transfers for the months of May and June 2024, statement of taxes collected for the month ending May 31st, 2024, and the investment report for the period of May 1st through May 31st, 2024. Dr. Wilkins.
Good evening, President Bridges, Board of Trustees, Dr. Rollo. Still hard to say good evening right now. So,
Used to that.
So I'm going to start off with the budget summary. As you can see, budget summary posted, we were 87.48% through our budget May 31st. Understand that that's still a moving target at this point because we're still working on year-end closeout, so that'll be changing as we go into the finishing these last couple of weeks. You look down, we have our budget summary for our special revenues. If you look at 282, that's the ESSER. We are currently spending the rest of that, and that will not be renewing as we've talked about, so that money will be going away. And then we're going to move on down into our budget amendments. As I said, we're doing year-end closeout, so you're going to start seeing some amendments and budget changes that are going to happen as we close out and balance functions to make sure that we're going to balance the budget on everything and not bust a function. So when we talk about that, we want to make sure that all of our functions have enough money in it. And so that's what these budget amendments are going for right now. We have our Head Start. As you can see, we're moving right along in Head Start. Our percentages are looking good. The next thing is going to be our tax levy. We have our calculation, and then we have the LCAD calculation. I would urge you to look at LCAD because ours was calculated prior to the $100,000 homestead exemption, so ours is skewed a little bit. So when you look down, we're currently sitting around 96% collection, 96.8 to be exact. We usually average close to 100, so we're a little off on that. Moving on to our investments, we're currently averaging a 6.3 return on our investments, which is really good. LPN are the next few items you have in your packet. And LPN is closing out. That's our 1882 agreement, so that's closing out, and we're going to be finishing up that by the end of this year. And then after that, we have our June budget amendments. And that's where you'll see some large ones, and that's us going ahead and cleaning up those functions and getting ready to close out for the end of the year. As you can see, those labeled as final amendment. Do you have any questions on the financials?
I have a quick question.
Yes, ma'am.
What did you say about the LPN?
LPN, our Lubbock Partnership Network, we're going to be closing that out at the end of this year. Yes,
So
ma'am.
will we be saving any money with that?
No.
So we have no savings at all, that's just all dead, it was paid otherwise, correct?
It's going to, we're not going to be doing the LPN anymore.
Right, no, I understand that, but is there any savings? Is there any money we funneled into the program at all? That's what I'm saying. So
I'm
do we
gonna
get, now, are we saving that money if we were funneling it into
I'm
that
going to
program?
defer to,
We did have some revenue that came in as being a part of the LPN, but our expenditures exceeded the revenue.
there you go.
Okay, so there's not a savings, okay, that was the question.
Thank you.
No, thank you, I appreciate that. Just for clarification.
No, you're great.
Questions or comments, trustees? Do you have a motion to approve the financials as presented?
So moved.
Second. Thank you. All those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Motion carries 7-0. Thank you. Next on the agenda, consent agenda. Consider board approval of the minutes of the regular meeting and workshop held May 9th, 2024, the special call meeting held May 15th, 2024, and the regular meeting and workshop held May 23rd, 2024. Do we have any corrections to the minutes from the May meetings of the board as printed and distributed? Hearing none, they stand approved as printed. Administrative action items. Item number 8. Consideration and approval of renaming the AgriStem Supervised Agricultural Experience Center. Dr. Rollo.
Yes, so this is our new name for our new agriculture barn, if you will.
I was wondering
But it is
what the-
more than that. And I'm very excited to bring this to you today. Roger Green stands as a lasting symbol of passion for agriculture and unwavering dedication to students in our community. He has served as an educator. He recently retired, but for 47 years. 33 of those being at Monterey High School as the agriculture teacher. In the course of his remarkable career, he served as the Lubbock ISD Ag Farm Manager. He coached 5 state champion judging teams, earned many, many distinctions. One of his most recent was the PTA Teacher of the Decade, and also a 2-time Monterey High School Teacher of the Year. He has done an incredible job as an educator and has left a huge lasting impression. He was also recently named by the Texas Agriculture Teachers Association. He's being inducted into their Hall of Fame. And I do want to share a quote from State Representative Dustin Burrows, who was one of Roger's students. He said that Mr. Green treated us with respect, entrusted us with more responsibility than we deserved, and many of us would not have persevered without him and the grace of God. His legacy transcends his career, and we are so honored to be able to bring this to you today to consider naming that facility in his honor.
Nice. Thank you, Dr. Rollo. Questions? Comments? All right, do I have a motion to approve renaming the Supervised Agricultural Experience Center to the Roger Green Supervised Agricultural Experience Center?
So moved.
That's a lot of motions in a second. So all those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries unanimously. Congratulations. Green? Please come to the podium.
Mr. Green?
Yeah, Mr. Green, come to the podium. Congratulations.
Let me say thank you to you guys and the board members that have passed that are no longer serving in the LISD for doing this for the students. I mean, they need it, they deserve it, and it is really a nice place. And for those students in the city that are going to be able to have an animal and to have a nice place to keep them, thank you very, very much for what y'all do for them.
You're so very welcome.
Thank you, Mr. Green.
That's awesome.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank y'all.
Thank you. We're excited to see that sign go up.
Yes.
So exciting.
That'll be a celebration for sure.
For sure. All right. From something really fun to just standard business now. So approval of state waiver for low attendance day. Dr. Rollo.
Yes, so the state gives us the ability, if we have a day that we have low attendance due to inclement weather, health, or safety-related issues, and the attendance rate is at least 10 percentage points below the previous year on the same date, we have the ability to apply for an attendance waiver, which allows us to collect a better ADA for that one day. And in our budget situation, we're going to go after every single possible dollar that we can. And on Monday, February 12th, we had a delayed start of school because of the weather that day. And our attendance rate the previous year was in the 90th percentile, and that particular day was 78%. And that's the only day that we qualify for this, and we are going to apply for a waiver for that with your approval.
Do I have a motion to approve the state waiver for low attendance on February 12th, 2024?
So moved.
Okay, second, thank you. All those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thank you, Dr. Willow. Approval of management fees under the cooperative purchasing contracts. Rick Rodriguez, please give us some
Yes,
information.
good evening, Trustee Bridges and Board of Trustees. It's great to see you all this evening. This is an annual item that we bring to you. We're required to, by House Bill 273 and the Texas Education Code, to bring this item to you to disclose the fees that we pay to join these purchasing cooperatives. This is just a disclosure to you all to let you know we pay these fees. These fees are well worth the value that we gain from being a part of these cooperatives.
Any questions, trustees? All right, do you have a motion to approve the report of the management fees as presented?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Thank you. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Motion carries 7-0. Thank you. Approval of contracts for the continuation of attorney services. Mr. Rodriguez.
Yes, thank you again. So this is another annual item that we bring to you in securing legal counsel and attorneys in various types of matters. And so we are recommending the continuation with Underwood Law Firm, Baker, Brown, Thompson, and Stevens, and then Walsh, Gallegos, Kyle, Robinson, Rolson. These are the firms that we are recommending continuing services with. That each type of firm brings us a different
Specialize in a certain area.
Right, correct, yes. So that's why we have 3.
Questions? Comments, trustees?
Yeah, I think.
All right. Wait, I got one. Do I have a motion to approve the contracts for continuation of attorney services as presented?
So moved.
Second.
Second, thank you. All those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Motion carries 7-0. Thank you. All right, approval of the 2024-2025 Title I Supplement, not Supplant Compliance Requirement. I'm going to give this to Dr. Wilkins.
Okay, this is a yearly requirement. Since we receive Title I funds and not all of our campuses are Title I, we have to develop a methodology so that we can spend Title I funds on classroom reduction. And so with this, we have specified what we're going to, classroom size reduction, and we're going to take this money and reduce our numbers per student, per teacher.
This is the item that I'm sorry, I don't mean to
Yes,
interrupt,
no,
the
you're
item that we brought to the Finance Committee before, that we discussed in the committee and vetted through them.
So without this, we could be looking at increased
Correct.
classroom sizes up to 30, above 30?
Correct. We wouldn't be able to spend Title I funds to reduce those class sizes. And so this allows us, we've created this methodology so that we're allowed to spend that money on this. Gives us flexibility a little bit.
Okay.
So are all our schools have Title I? There's only one school
No.
it's not Title I, is
One
that
is
correct?
not. That is correct.
Okay, so that's still the case then.
Yes, ma'am. If
Okay.
all of them were Title I, we wouldn't do this.
Okay, so let me ask you, so in elementary school, they can only go up to what, 22, 23 kids, correct? Other than that, because we have
22
to have a waiver for that too, but not 30 kids.
Through
Correct.
fourth grade.
Just
Correct.
one,
Not
okay,
through
no,
grade.
no, that's what I'm saying, elementary. But I wanted to make sure, I wanted the public to be able to know that, and say, oh no, we're gonna have 30 kids in second and third grade. I needed that for clarification. Thank you, because I was at that finance meeting. Thank you.
And this actually will help ensure that we don't have those
Yep.
unmanageable numbers.
Yes,
Will
ma'am.
help us keep those class sizes smaller.
Yes.
Good. Okay, thank you. Okay, any other questions, trustees? Do I have a motion to approve the 2024-2025 Title I Supplement, not Supplant Compliance Requirement as presented?
So moved.
Thank you. Is there a second? All right. All those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Motion carries 7-0. Thank you. Okay, consideration and approval of the adoption of the 2024-2025 fiscal year budget. Dr. Wilkins.
All right, while we're getting set up, good evening, but I'd like to thank a couple of people. I'd like to thank Mr. Rodriguez, Ms. Reber, Mr. Flores, Ms. Jennings, who worked tirelessly on this budget and made some hard decisions. I'd like to thank the Finance Committee, past board members. Y'all have done some great things with pay raises, ESSER money, providing the teachers. We'd like to thank y'all for that. And this was a tough year, and there was some heavy lifting, and those people, central office folks, thank y'all very much for all you've done. We appreciate y'all, and just thank you. Thank you to everybody. All right, this is our budget presentation for 24-25. If you look, we're closing in on our deadline for tax roll certification. We're going to approve the budget tonight, and we'll have tax roll certification come the end of this month, and so we should be receiving our actual tax rate the end of July, I'm sorry, and then we'll approve it in August. If you look at this slide, this is our budget development elements and assumptions. The top one is a 7% increase of our 23 certified values. We usually average about 5 to 6% increase, but this year it was a 7% increase, and this is not us. We do not control this. This is the appraisal district. We just take these numbers and use them. Top one is our local. The bottom one is our state. And so if you look at the very bottom down there, that's our estimated ADA with a 400 reduction. We are losing some kids every year. And you will hear the state said they infused $3.2 billion in new money for enrollment, for new enrollment. We're not getting any of that because we're not gaining any kids. So just know that if you hear that. Moving on, budget development elements. If you look at our 24-25 proposed tax rate, we are estimating at 89.1 cents. Okay, we will know the exact rate come the end of July, but right now we're pretty confident it's going to be that or lower. If you look at this slide, this is a 15-year history of our tax rate, and you can see that over on the end it starts tailing off. That's due to tax compression from the state. So the state is compressing our taxes, thus lowering how much we're collecting from the public, and they're supposed to be chipping in more. And we'll talk about that in a few more slides. If you look at that also, one thing I want to point out is the golden penny that we get from our TRE that we've done in the past here. And there is a slight golden penny lag that the state is not funding us on like they used to. So prior to House Bill 3, the golden penny yielded $98. And in 2024, it yielded $126. Next year, it'll be $129. If we would have left it alone, it would be somewhere around $198 prior to House Bill 3. So we would have been gaining a little bit more money off our TRE if they wouldn't have compressed it. Moving on, general operating revenues. If you look here, 23-24 compared to 24-25, we're at a $4 million decrease in our revenues. Here's our breakdown of our revenues right here. If you look at line 1 and 3, this is what I was talking about here. You have your tax compression, which is $19 million, and then the state infused new money, which brought us back whole at $20 million. We did lose a little money due to ADA, which is our available school fund. That's the second line. And then our foundation school fund, 1882, that's the LPN money that we were getting, which is going away. And then at the bottom line, that is our indirect cost that we were accumulating from ESSER and our other grants, and along with SHARS, which is our Medicaid services we provide kids, which the state cut. So if you look at our expenditures, 23-24, we had $238 million roughly. 24-25, we're estimating 242, which is an increase of $4.28 million. Majority of that is the pay raise that we agreed upon. Sorry, got off on my deal. Okay, here we go. Operating expenditures. So you have your 6,100 all the way down to your 6,600. You can see that we have cut in every area except for our payroll expenses. We did have to move a few people back into the general operating from ESSER, but we also gave pay raises, which contributed to that. So this is by function. This is a breakdown by function. If you look, you can see instruction. That's mostly our teachers. That is our teachers, so that's where that increase is at right there. And then it goes on down. If you look at 13 and 21, that is the redesign of the curriculum department from teaching and learning. That's the reason there's a decrease and an increase in one, but you can see we ended up saving money there. If you continue on down, you can see that we've done really well and been diligent with how we've budgeted and worked with the funds that we had at hand. Going on, if you look, the big one here is 52, function 52. That's our security. That's our police officers. We have to budget for the police officers. Okay, we're doing our best to hire police officers, but we have to budget for them, and that's $1.3 million.
And what is that state mandate again?
So the state mandate is that we have one police officer per campus, and I have some numbers here for you. If you look up here, we spent $4.3 million, or we're planning on spending $4.3 million in 24-25 on security and police officers. 15,000 per campus is what we were given for police officers. That's roughly $720,000. We were given an extra $10 per student. That's roughly $240,000, totaling $960,000. As you compare those two numbers, 4.3, 960,000, there's a slight difference. So.
And that is because that first-year police officer, would reiterate that what you talked about in our committee meeting.
First-year police officer is going to range somewhere around $110,000 to $115,000.
Because there's equipment,
Yes,
there's
ma'am.
vehicle, so the expenditure is significantly more than the money that was provided.
Yes, ma'am. That is correct.
Okay, by that unfunded mandate. Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
So does that mandate then, does that impact line 52 as well as back where the payroll expense, where we're
Yes, so
5.3?
Yes, actually, if you'll go on back, 6,100 payroll expenses, that is in that
Okay.
there. But per function, it's just 52.
Okay.
So,
So just for my clarification, I just want to make sure I'm understanding
Yes,
this,
ma'am.
okay? I realize that we're not going to have police officers in every campus. I realize that we don't have that kind of funds. However, we're still using the sheriff and the cities, right? So that money's coming out of where?
Out of
the
50.
same one that we were just talking. Okay,
Yes,
that
ma'am.
was my point.
Yes,
okay,
ma'am.
so we have money for that to cover that cost and make sure that we have police officers in every one of our campus, and they are going back and forth if need be. Correct?
yes, ma'am.
Okay.
We're trying to cover every campus.
Okay, and I know that that hasn't happened because we're short. I
They're
get
just-
it,
they're not
but they're
out there.
floating.
Yeah.
Yes,
So
correct.
We have over 30 other law enforcement agencies who are spending their days off.
On their day off,
Working
correct.
for us. So part of that 52 is
It's in there,
paying them
perfect.
Yep.
Thank you.
to do
You're
that.
welcome. So our 24-25 major expenditure differences is our salaries, and that's our ESSER and the pay raise. If you look at the top, classified salaries is the pay raise, and our police officers, we had a slight increase in software renewals, decrease everywhere else. The electrical deregulation, what that is we've in the past had enough to cover that, and this year we're not, so we're budgeting exactly what we're probably going to need to cover our electricity. Moving on to our preliminary revenues and expenditures, this is where we set currently for the budget. For our revenues over expenditures, we're looking at an $8.6 million deficit for next year. Our debt service will remain balanced. You can see that we're not collecting as much, but we're still going to remain balanced because we're going to pay that money out. What we bring in, we're going to pay out. So there's our expenditures. Food service is going to remain balanced. You will see a decrease on the bottom right. That's due to student enrollment. You don't bring in as many students, you don't feed as many students. Therefore, it doesn't cost you. So there is a slight decrease in revenues. So therefore, our expenditures are going to be less. So we will balance on the food service side. Any questions?
I have one more. Please bear with me,
Nope,
okay?
you're
I was
fine.
kind of looking at here. Where is the TRE money stated in here? Is it not?
So currently with the TRE, what we just, in the finance committee, so the TRE money.
No, yeah, go ahead.
Oh, sorry. Okay.
No, you go ahead.
They used ESSER funds. We moved the TRE money. We used ESSER funds to fund the technology. So next year we're going to have to move and we're going to have to fund the technology out of our budget the following year.
out of TRE money though.
Yes.
But currently, what do we have in the TRE money?
So still have the same.
Which is what?
It generates about $4 to $5 million.
About 5 million, and then whatever exceeds that can be utilized for other things, right?
Yes.
But the first 5 million have to go towards that, correct?
Technology.
Okay,
yes.
technology, that's correct. Because just curious, because I remember back then when it all came through, that's what it was for. And I also understood that after the 5 million, it could be utilized for whatever it needed to be. So, and I wanted to know what it's being utilized for now.
It's just in the general fund.
Just in the general fund.
So it's tossed in there, okay. Well, it
It's
would be nice to know at some point what that money, where it's going in the general fund. I'd like to, in TRE, I'd like to see, where's that money going? Let's say there's 3 million, well, it's TRE money and this is where it's going.
So the
I know it's general fund, but to me, that doesn't, I'd like to know where that's
So
going.
the TRE is it's lumped into our M&O.
Right, okay.
So the only way you could actually decide where it goes is if you just chose it and pulled out 3 million and said, I want to track this 3 million. And you could track it to wherever. I mean, you could track it to, it's going to salaries, it's going to police officers, it's going to.
So can we do that?
I mean, we could say it's going, yeah, we could pull it out and say, track it to wherever it's going.
I think it's important because it's nice to keep up since, we did, that was a, what was it, a bond or?
It was the TRE election.
That's exactly, yeah,
Yes.
that's right. That's when Ryan had helped out with that. Okay, I think that's important. It is to me.
Okay. Any other questions?
Would you say what TRE is? That's new to me and I'm learning.
Tax ratification election.
Okay, got it. Thank you.
That allowed us to flip some of our interest and sinking money, which pays off debt, to maintenance and operations, so that we can use it to meet our district needs beyond just paying the debt.
So I click back on the last slide, if we can go back up there. If you will look, and if you go back to 15, 16, 16, 17, yeah, that's it right there. You could see that we went from 19 cents to 17 cents. That's our TRE. So we moved 2 cents from our bond, or INS, to M&O.
Okay.
Voter approval to do
Voter
that.
approved, yes.
Right.
Okay.
You did a great job of an analogy in Finance Committee talking about the cup. When we talk about funding and when the state talks about the additional funding they provided to public education, that was replacing local taxpayer money with state money, but it's not new money in our cup. Would you give that analogy again? I thought it was a very good.
So you can imagine having a cup in front of you, and you have 2 pitchers of water, different colors, okay? And they don't mix. You pour one in, that's local funds. Whatever's left, the state's going to fill up, okay? But our cup has yet to change size. We need our cup to change size, is what we need, okay? We're still getting the same amount of money. So if we generate more local revenue, the state puts in less. If we generate less local revenue, the state puts in more. But our cup stays the same.
So when the legislature chose to reduce the amount that the local property taxpayer was putting into the cup,
Yes, ma'am.
and they're replacing it, they bought down the tax rate for the local property taxpayer, which everybody appreciates, but it's not new money.
It's not
We
new.
still have the same size of cup. I think that's so important
Yes,
for the
ma'am.
public to understand. And so school districts across the state are in the same boat we're in.
That is correct. The cup stayed the same, but they're just filling the cup up where it was taken down a little
Right.
bit.
So we want to be transparent about that,
Yes,
those
ma'am.
dollars.
Exactly.
Very good.
And we are aware of very few districts who are adopting balanced budgets right now. When we started this budget season, we were at over $16 million. And so we have made extreme cuts and very difficult decisions. And I'm grateful to, not only to the people Dwayne named, because we are very grateful for them, but we're also very grateful to our campus principals.
Yes.
Because they have locked arms with us, and it has not been easy to have those conversations and to make those tough decisions, but we are incredibly grateful for them as well.
One other thing I'd like to clarify, we talked, there was a little bit of few positions that have been funded through ESSER funds. They're going to continue and we're going to have to pay for those out of general fund, those positions. It's not because those funds were initially expended because there were needs, there were increased student needs, and that's what the ESSER funds were to help meet those needs from COVID. But because the dollars ended, the ESSER dollars are going away, that doesn't mean that the needs have gone away. So those positions are continuing to be funded through general revenue because we have students that still have needs.
That is
Some of them,
Yes.
not all.
Yeah, not all of them.
Yes.
Yeah, but some of those positions, I think you explained in
Yes.
Finance Committee. I think that's important too.
that is correct.
Okay, very good.
Dr. Wilkins, can you explain for what the, if we adopt this with the $8.6 million deficit as intended, how does that impact us next year?
We have a heavy lift next year. So we really need to work hard at closing that gap significantly and balancing this budget. Because when you have your 3-month fund balance, which we're required to carry according to the TEA, that fund balance is operating money that we use until we collect tax dollars and revenue from the state. So we need that 3 months, and we're going to have to tap into that in order to balance the budget this next year. So it's very important.
There are very tough decisions ahead.
And to that point, I mean, $8 million deficit is not just this 1 year. That's, I mean, because those salaries continue to
That's right.
Yes,
in perpetuity. So
that is correct. Yes, ma'am.
Not a question, but a statement. First, Shay, since this is your last budget, thank you for all the work you've done. Man, you've steadied the ship, and I know it pains you to go out on this note, as it does me as well. You know, for the general public, and Nancy had asked Dwayne to re-give his analogy. I want to make sure everybody understands, regardless, when we're talking about the money that we get to pay teachers and to pay the light bill and the bus bill and all the other things, regardless of what happens to our local taxes, we do not get a single penny more unless our local legislators increase the basic allotment. We have not had an increase in the basic allotment in large since 2019. In that same time, our Texas lawmakers' offices have increased their budgets by almost $58 million. In 2019, and this is for their staff, them and their staff, it was $153 million. This last session, it ended up at just under $211 million. And so the people that believe that there's waste and everything else, we have scraped this budget really, really hard the last 3 years. And fortunately, we haven't had to approve a deficit budget. Unfortunately, we have not paid our teachers very well because of that. We haven't kept up with inflation. We haven't, you know, we've tried to do some special things with ESSER. Dr. Rollo and her staff did amazing things that put a lot of dollars in people's pockets, but it was a one-time. It wasn't a recurring, and we understand that. And so I hope you understand, districts, by and large, are not pissing away money. There is wasteful spending in government. I'll be the first to admit, as a guy who financially conservative, I hate approving anything that has a red number. But our costs have skyrocketed, just like our personal costs have skyrocketed. I think everybody would agree. Before COVID, going to the grocery store cost a whole lot less than today. Well, that affects us at the school district the exact same. And so if you care about public ed, you have got to start speaking up, because it's the haves and the have-nots, and that's the way it's going. If you have an increasing enrollment, you know, you're able to stave off some things, but for those urban districts, which Lubbock is one of, we are providing more and more services to fewer kids. The costs are skyrocketing, and there's not really an end in sight. And so until people start actually caring about what teachers do for a living and what public ed does for our overall economy, we're going to get what we deserve. And that's what we've gotten. We've gotten no new money, and they can say whatever they want, but they've literally taken it out of the left pocket and put it in the right. At the end of the day, the money in our pocket stays the same.
With that being said, I just want to say really quick, I think it's important, being a trustee, that we get a hold of the legislators. We do our due diligence, but follow through on it, and also let our constituents know. I have that posted on my page, and I let them know, if you're going to complain, let's do something about it together. And you know what? We've had good turnouts of people calling in District 1. I don't know about the rest, and I don't know if my colleagues have done the same, but I think encourage your constituents, encourage them to call the legislator. If we don't do it, they're not going to do it either. We have to set the example, guys.
I'll leave you with one example of inflation. Property insurance since 2014 for the school district has increased 634%. So
It's crazy.
I'll leave you with that. Any questions? All right. Thank you.
Thank you. Trustees, any final questions, comments, final thoughts? All right. Do I have a motion to approve the adoption of the 2024-2025 fiscal year budget as presented?
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. All those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Motion carries 7-0. That should be like a bong. Okay, academic action items. Consider issuing a school district teaching permit to Daniel Ballard to teach career and technical education courses in audio video production, certified by the superintendent. Dr. Rollo.
Yes, so as you guys know, our district may issue a school district teaching permit when certain conditions are met regarding CTE courses. And I'm very excited today to recommend Daniel Ballard as an audio video production instructor for Lubbock ISD. He has a master's degree in motion picture and television from the Academy of Art University and a bachelor's in electronic media and communications from Texas Tech. He has worked with Texas Tech University Public Media since 2013-14. He has also been a volunteer with the Lubbock Community Theater, and we are very excited to recommend him to teach these courses for us.
Wonderful. Questions, comments? All right. Do we
Was
have a
this
motion?
Kenneth position by any chance? It wasn't? Okay.
This will be a teaching
So
position.
is this a new position that we're being opened?
No, it's
So it's
replacing.
existing?
Yes,
Oh, okay.
yes, it's
Nice.
existing courses.
I got scared that
We
it was
just
Kenneth.
needed
I
a
know
new
he's
teacher.
leaving, but I sure wish he wouldn't.
We all commiserate with you on that.
Yeah.
So moved.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. All those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Motion carries 7-0. Consider issuing a school district teaching permit to Reginald Davis III to teach career and technical education courses in business and marketing, certified by the superintendent. Dr. Willow.
Yes, so another exciting one that we're bringing to you today, Reginald Davis III. We are asking for him to teach business and marketing for Lubbock ISD. He has a bachelor's from Texas Tech University in business administration and marketing. He has worked in orthopedic sales, has managed $1 million territory and supported client needs. And another known fact about him is he played in NFL for the Atlanta Falcons.
He can donate his time to.
Do we have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Carries 7-0. Welcome. Approval, is that the last one? Approval of the agreement with the Lubbock County Juvenile Justice Center.
Yes, so we have several annual approvals that we're bringing to you today. As you guys are aware, Lubbock ISD partners with LCJJC to provide the educational services at that organization, and we use Title I Part D funds to do that, and so we're just asking for your approval to continue those services.
So moved.
Is there any questions, trustees, for those of you who may be new? No?
This
Okay.
center does serve Lubbock ISD students who are at LCJJC, but mostly it serves students from all over the county and sometimes outside the county, and the school districts sending the students do pay a portion for that.
Okay, we have a motion from trustee Chavez. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Okay, motion carries 7-0. approval of cooperative agreement with the South Plains Community Action Association Head Start Division. Dr. Miller.
Yes, so this is another annual item. This agreement allows us to work closely with SPCAA Head Start for diagnostic and educational services for preschool children with disabilities.
I so move.
Trustees, any questions or comments? No, is there a second?
Second.
All right, thank you. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed, same sign. Motion carries 7-0. Okay, approval of a memorandum of understanding, or MOU, with Early Childhood Intervention Developmental Education Birth to 3 ECI debt.
Yes, so Lubbock ISD is honored to be the fiscal agent and work with ECI debt, which stands for Early Childhood Intervention Developmental Education Birth through age 3. This allows us to really provide that early intervention for students before they enter school.
A motion?
So moved.
Second.
And thank you. All those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
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 Any opposed, same sign. Motion carries 7-0. Thank you. Item F, approval of memorandum of understanding with Star Care Specialty Health System. Dr.
Yes, another annual item. We are very happy to partner with Star Care. This organization provides Lubbock ISD staff, time, and resources, as well as access to promote supportive mental health intervention through education, outreach, family services, referrals, and/or treatment to identified individuals meeting priority or target population criteria.
Thank you. Questions, trustees? Do we have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Laura. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Motion carries 7-0. Thank you. Approval of an MOU with Women's Protective Services.
Yes, another annual item, lots of annual items in June. This is a MOU with Women's Protective Services that allows us to have a collaborative effort to provide services to children and mothers within the Lubbock ISD system.
I so move.
All right.
Second.
Motion and a second, thank you. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Motion carries 7-0. Procurement and contracts, approval of district purchases. Mr. Rodriguez.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you, Ms. Bridges. Just two items to bring before you for your consideration. One is the purchase of copy paper. This is an annual item that we do. We buy a significant amount of paper, and then we actually create a co-op, and other districts can buy from us. So we use our buying power and then turn around and provide the opportunity for other school districts to buy into that co-op. So that's this purchase here. And then the second one is an assessment item to the College Board. Basically, we do testing for students for 8th and 9th. It's the PSAT for 10th graders, the PSAT, NMSQT, and then for 11th graders, the SAT, providing those assessments for those students. Some of them have different purposes, certainly getting kiddos ready for college and career readiness. For 8th and 9th graders, and the 10th graders, and then the 11th graders for the SAT, providing juniors with college entrance exam scores, and so getting those kiddos ready to get into college, giving them that first step of doing that. The great thing about this is a not to exceed numbers, 113,000. These are basically electronic licenses, and so any kiddo that doesn't, for whatever reason, the kiddo got sick and they couldn't come to school that day, we don't have to pay for that test. So this is a not to exceed number.
So to clarify, all 11th graders will take the SAT.
Lubbock
correct.
ISD has committed to all of our 11th graders
No-
taking the SAT.
Not all districts do that.
No,
So
That's
that is
I don't know of
correct.
many that do.
Okay.
And we do not want the cost of the test to be a barrier.
Right.
So we cover the cost.
And do you remember off the top of your head how many National Merit Scholarship qualifiers we had? 14.
We
maybe?
recognize
Recognized.
them.
I can't.
That's a lot.
It was a lot. Double digits, at least. Yeah. Well done. Okay, thank you. Sorry. Any other questions, Leslie? Do you have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Okay. Motion and a second. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Motion carries 7-0. Approval of district contract renewals. Mr. Rodriguez.
Yes, thank you, Ms. Bridges. Continuing the theme of annual items, bringing these to you this evening. Our food service management, this is our child nutrition contract, and we're happy to bring that to you for your consideration. This is, again, the annual renewal with TDA. This is year 3 of 5 of our agreement with Aramark, and typically Lori would be here, Lori Johnson would be here today, but she's had a family situation that has prevented her from being here, but she apologized for not being able to be here tonight with us. It does include a 5.3% CPI increase that's approved by TDA. It also includes language to alleviate. We have $1 million in general fund salaries. There's a fund balance that we're working on to make sure we spend down. There's a plan to spend down that fund balance. That fund balance can only be spent for kitchen-related food service items. So we can't take that fund balance and move it to pay for salaries for teachers or anybody else. So it can only be spent. So we're doing some kitchen remodels you'll see here in just a moment that I'll bring for you. So that's the big item on this particular one. Some other annual items on this list is the KickUp, which is our software that we use for performance reviews, staff evaluations, and professional learning portfolios that our teachers and staff are required to have. We'll be using 255 funds to pay for that. And then the next two items, the reading curriculum and the mathematics curriculum, we'll be using instructional materials allotment funds. For those two items, you see the explanation there, the reading curriculum for HQIM, or high quality instructional materials program, and then the math is the State Board of Education approved K-5 mathematics curriculum, and this will be at all campuses this upcoming year. The next is another annual item with Region 17. It's our annual contract with Region 17 for their services, administrative services, continuous improvement and accountability, so data that they disaggregate for us, and access to those other items listed there. Our next item on that list, and I think it is our last item on that list, is the SHARS program. That's the company that we use. Onward Learning is who does our Medicaid billing, and so they're the ones that help us get those refunds back that we talked about, in order, and that generates that revenue for us. And that is a not to exceeds number, so it could be less, but that's a not to exceeds number. I'd be happy to try to answer any questions you might have.
I have a question that may involve both you and Dr. Wilkins on the $17 million for Aramark food service management. Looks like our budget for food service expenditures is about $20,500,000. Other than this $17 million, what else goes into that category there? I'm just kind of going back through my binder here.
Give me a second. I'm getting back to my paperwork here.
No worries.
So we receive funds, local, state, and federal, for food service, okay? And so for the contract, it's $17 million just to Aramark.
Sure.
And so we're receiving some funds that we're spending otherwise. This is just to pay for Aramark. It's a $17 million.
So on that other 3.4 or so, what are some of the other?
You're going to get
buckets
some
that-
you're going to get some federal government funds. You're going to get some state funds. It's just for food service, like USDA, TDA. You're going to get that money from those guys. That's going to be for food service. Does that make sense?
Well, I mean,
clarify?
that would explain the revenue part. I'm just thinking more of the expenditures.
Yep.
This expenditure here is 17 million, right?
Right,
That's
right.
what we're approving here, but our budget for the year on expenditures is 20,500,000. So just kind of wondering what the other 3.5 million that's built into our budget expenditures.
I'm going to have to dig into that to get you an answer on that before because
It'll be
now I
outside
understand.
of the
Right,
Airmark
outside of this
contract.
17 million,
Yeah.
there's 3.5 million that's sitting out there. I'm just curious to know.
I'm going to
where
have to
that-
dig into
at?
that before I give you an answer on
Okay,
that.
no problem.
So, yeah.
Thank you.
Let me do
That's a
some
great
digging and I'll get
question.
you an answer.
That's my point with TRE. Where's it at? Any other questions, trustees? All right, do I have a elective motion to approve the district contract renewals as presented?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Thank you. All those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Motion carries 7-0. Thank you. Approval of construction competitive seal proposal delivery method and delegation of authority. Mr. Rodriguez.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you, Ms. Bridges. Another standard item, using a delivery method for two of our kitchen renovation projects. Just to remind the board, this is the first step in starting the process, so we're going to do a competitive seal. We're asking for delegation of authority to use competitive seal proposal delivery method to identify criteria, relative weights, ranking, selection, and evaluation of bids in order for us to get these two kitchen renovations, one at Evans Middle School and one at McWhorter Elementary. And so that's what we're asking for, is the delegation of authority.
So this does not approve the actual
This does not.
project or scope.
It starts
This
the
is
process.
just to send
Mhm.
the bids out, basically.
Correct,
and
correct.
to
We'll have
delegate Dr.
people.
Rollo to.
Yes.
And
The
then this will
actual
come back to
It'll
us.
come back to you for
Correct.
approving
Okay.
Mhm.
contract.
Any other questions, trustees? All right, do we have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. All those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Motion carries 7-0. Thank you. All right, that's the business portion of the general meeting. We will move on to our workshop. So we'll give a second, I guess, to get set up. We'll do board HIPAA training first. All right, Lisa Thompson, take us away.
Hi, good evening. Lisa Thompson. I'm the Executive Director of Payroll Risk Management and Benefits, and I know you're just been waiting on this HIPAA training, right? So
Tooth and
I'll
nail.
just yes.
Tooth and nail.
As you know, we're a self-funded health plan and a self-funded workers' comp plan, which requires us to follow HIPAA regulations, Health Insurance Portability and Accountability Act. So I'm just going to hit the high points on that today. We've done this a few years ago, but wanted to revisit that. I'm the district's privacy officer, so any of those concerns or complaints come to me. But so with that, as a board member, staff member, any one of us who come in contact with any sort of protected health information relating to the health plan and the workers' comp plan, that must be kept confidential and private. You'll hear me mention FERPA and HIPAA. I'm not here to talk about FERPA. I would defer to Ms. Reber and Ms. Finger about that. That's specific to student records. But HIPAA, again, as I mentioned, is a Health Insurance Portability and Accountability Act. And basically, it's national standards. Most people know about it from hospital and doctor's offices. Those notice of privacy practices that you sign and acknowledge. So what we want to talk about a little bit is limiting how we use that information. It says patients, but those are our participants in our health plan and our workers' comp plan. We have to protect their privacy about their health care treatment and needs as we manage the health funds and the workers' comp funds. And there are penalties for violation of those if we were to breach the confidentiality. The enforcement authority is the Office of Civil Rights and the State Department of Health Services. So there's two portions of that. It's privacy and security. Privacy is just who can have access to that information, and security relates to EPHI, which is Electronic Protected Health Information, and the security procedures that we have in place for those. So what is protected under HIPAA? So anything individually identifiable health-wise, health information,
anything about a person, their social security number, their address, or diagnosis, those sort of things. It can be written, verbal, or electronic, photographs, anything unique to them. And its information, especially protected, is anything to do with HIV, alcohol, drug treatment, psychotherapy, notes, and those sort of things. And I do want to mention specifically, as we do get this question, as you know, we have an employee assistance program that's offered through Texas Tech University Health Science Center. That program is strictly confidential. The district has been great about paying for that program for our employees and their dependents, but we absolutely do not want to receive, or handle any confidential information on those counseling sessions for employees or their family members that receive EAP services. So we get that. Sometimes we've had people say, I'm hesitant because I don't want anybody to know, and I just, for the record, want to make sure everybody knows we do not receive that information, nor are we ever asked about that information from anyone in the district.
We do receive data on how often it's accessed.
Yes.
And that's important for us to show that it is being utilized.
Yes, thank you, Dr. Roll. It is going up about 100 visits every year, so it is being highly utilized. But yes, we get the visits and the bill, and we pay the bill. So, but again, we do not want that information, and we do not access that information. Yeah. Okay, there we go. Some identifiers, as I mentioned earlier: phone, fax numbers, medical record numbers, photos, dates of birth, social security numbers, anything like that is protected. So we have a process of de-identifying information, and it's only minimum necessary. So you're aware that we have Blue Cross Blue Shield that manages our health claims, as well as CVS. We do have access to some information, but it's only on a need-to-know basis, and it's to pay the bill or answer questions for our employees or their dependents. The same thing with workers' comp. We have Athens Administrator. So they handle our workers' comp, but we do have to manage return to duty, light duty, those sort of things that we work with the campus administrators. But again, we de-identify, or we protect that information as much as possible. We have to keep an accounting of disclosures. So if that was to be released outside of the need to know, or part of our jobs as the executive director or the benefits specialist, we have to keep an accounting of who has viewed those records, and of course, upon request, release those. We do have a notice of privacy practices. Those are posted on our website as well as outside our office. And anybody can obtain copies of that should they need that, and make corrections if needed to their records. So some general guidelines on sharing that information is, again, treatment. We do have treatment information primarily relating to our workers' comp program, as we manage that through Athens, and again, return to duty, those sort of things. And our employees control that information. We do sometimes have employees' family members want to access information. We do not release that without their consent to do so, the employee. Payment, as we mentioned earlier. Administrative functions as far as education and training, and other things required by law if we're subpoenaed or required to release things for public health purposes. So main thing is we only share information on the need-to-know basis. Many of you are on the committee for the board operations committee, on the board operations, and we do talk about the health plan, but we don't talk into specifics about employees or the claims or anything that specific or anything identifiable. And obviously we protect that information. Some other key practices that I know our technology department would be very happy that we talk about is passwords and electronic signatures, logging off, and email. And a few years ago, we put in a program to protect our emails between Blue Cross Blue Shield and our workers' comp administrators. It's called Virtue, so that it encrypts our emails additionally to protect that information. And again, do's and don'ts: don't share those electronic signatures and passwords. Choose ones you can remember, and remember that the longer the better, and various symbols and letters in lowercase. Don't share, and don't store them with a sticky note on your computer so everybody see those, right? And again, don't use your social security number, those sort of things. So email, I just mentioned, encrypted is very important, the VPN. I believe we recently put in additional protection for the district under Duo through Damon Jackson and his team that also protects our information, and email attachments. Be careful. So some helpful reminders, conversations, documents, discussions at meetings, faxing. We all have to be careful about that, using appropriate tones of voice, lower tones of voice, making sure people are only discussing things they need to know. Email we've talked about and the protection we have in place for that. We do have shredders in our office, and we shred quite a bit. We go through them quite often as we are protecting that information. We do consider the violations of any time very serious, and certainly follow the protocol for that, and appropriate disciplinary actions, from training, counseling to termination. So again, some examples: if someone's looking at somebody's confidential information, paperwork, sharing passwords, those sort of things. Some things not to do: telling family friends about a large participant claim and that you think it's your neighbor Sue, including patient-specific information, and certainly not been an issue here, but discussing at a board meeting that a particular claim relates to your sister neighbor who has cancer. Lubbock, Texas, and Mr. Rodriguez and I talk about this often, is a very caring community, a very caring district, very caring. So we sometimes have to, redirect and make sure people know. We were talking this morning about if Rick were to fall down the stairs, God forbid.
Because I'm going up and down the stairs these days.
Our tendency would be, he's going to be in the hospital, let's get a meal train going and things like that. We'd have to be really careful, request his, because it would be work-related, request his permission to share any information. And it may be just, Rick's going to be out, we're taking names of people that would want to do meals for him or something like that. Because it's a work-related injury, it is protected under HIPAA as a private event that we have to protect and cannot disclose without his permission. So we do caution people about those sort of things, because we want to care and we want to help and we want to support them. But we really encourage you to, and encourage the leadership to be careful with those sort of things as we work through those types of events, or somebody gets ill at a campus. Before disclosing those sort of things, let's make sure everybody's on the same page. Some people want to be private and they don't want those things shared. And again, consider their perspective, avoid situations where the information could be shared or used without appropriate permission, and security measures. And then lastly, I'm the security privacy officer, and if you have any questions or concerns, I'm happy to help answer those questions. I know that was exciting.
That's riveting, Lisa.
Riveting.
Thank you, Officer Thompson.
Anything I can help you with, or any questions I can answer today?
You're good.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Thank y'all.
Thank you.
Thanks, Lisa.
Might help Brian, Trustee Curry, reset his password.
So not
I never can
not my
remember
date of
mine.
birth?
I never have any idea what mine is. I have no idea. All right, we will move into progress measures. So Missy Reber, our Chief Academic Officer, will begin. And we'll have Kim Callison and Kami Finger also joining.
Yes, this is going to be a village effort as we report. Just a reminder, the progress measures are part of AE Local, which is our board policy. These are the goals that you set with some revisions that you made over a year ago. So I know that for some of you on the board, these are from the previous administration. But we want to go through those and give you an update of where we are at the end of this year. As we get started, our North Star goal, which is your first goal that you have set, we don't have data around this yet, as we are still waiting on growth measures from the state. So these will be coming soon as a relative term. We know that we'll have them later in the summer, ideally, if things go well with state information. And so we'll be able to share with you where we are in the North Star goal. We can share with you, though, our Domain 1 achievement scores around reading, and our other progress measures that you've indicated. So I'm going to turn the next section over to Kim, and we'll all kind of bounce back and forth through some different progress measures.
Thank you.
Good evening. Before I jump into the progress measures, I do want to share with you a slide of some information that is really celebratory. We earlier this week, several of you were at the System of Great Schools Summit in San Antonio, and Commissioner Morath shared this with the group and really celebrated Lubbock ISD in looking at some overall reading growth. As Trustee Curry said earlier, we haven't had a budget increase since 2019, but you can see this overall reading data growth from 2019 to this year. You can see as we've dug into the data, particularly in the area of reading, even with COVID and a redesigned STAR test last year that is much more rigorous and challenging, you can see some great gains in the achievement of our students in reading. So just to highlight a couple of areas, for example, our 4th grade meets for our African American students is up 22 points from 2019 until this year. You can see we had some double-digit gains with our Hispanic students and with our economically disadvantaged students. So I just wanted to share this with you. I know it's not officially part of the progress measure, but it definitely is something that we want to celebrate as we were celebrated across the state earlier this week.
My favorite thing that the commissioner said, he had 4 different slides celebrating Lubbock ISD,
yes,
more so than any others, and he ended his presentation with that. But one of the things that he said that I was so proud of our district and proud of our board and administration was Lubbock ISD has experienced or is experiencing a learning renaissance. And I thought, wow.
Really, it was great. It was a good feeling and very excited to share in this. We had lots of other district attendees that were coming up asking questions, texting us, and so that was exciting. So in looking at our progress measures that were set, as Misty said, in policy, one of the things that we set, these goals were set back before 2022, and we have had a change in our testing since then. Last year we had a new STAR 2.0 that was rolled out, and so our goal for this year was that by June STAR testing time this year, that our meets level, our meeting expectation in 3rd grade reading would move from 47% last year to 52%. You can see that we didn't quite make that. We're at 48% meets expectations, but when you look at that, we are above the state average. The state is at 46% right now, not as high as I would like it to be, but I always like to see that number being above the state. And when you dig into the data a little bit, one thing that we have learned this year, the state just released their data last week, and there were slides backwards in almost every grade level on this particular test. So looking forward to digging into that data a little bit more. Math is probably it is the area that is a much bigger concern, and that is across not only Lubbock ISD, the state, but also the nation. The COVID slide in math has been much more significant than in reading, and rebounding over the last 4 years is more challenging in math. I think it's because math builds upon itself, and when you have a whole year to a year and a half that was instruction was interrupted, it's definitely been more challenging to recover from that. So the goal that was set for this year was that 50% of our students would be at that meets expectations. We're at 43%, and the state is at 40%. Once again, seeing a slide backwards at the state level, and we still are maintaining above the state average. In 8th grade reading, our goal was 50% meeting expectations. 51, and we were at 50. So we're right there on the cusp at 8th grade. I'm very pleased. I think that what we're seeing happening in elementary reading is carrying over up until middle school and will continue to do so. And so you can see we're a little bit behind the state in looking at the testing with reading. One of the components that was added
last year was writing. We had not had that previous to last year's test, and so we're making those adjustments, and that's really where we're seeing, and where honestly you're probably going to see articles in the news surrounding writing, because they are using AI to grade partially the writing, and so there's a lot of controversy around that right now. We're digging into it as we speak. 8th grade math, once again, math is our area of struggle. Our goal is 38% of our 8th graders. I do want to remind you that in Lubbock ISD, about a third, about 36% of our 8th graders take Algebra 1. So they are not included in this data set, whereas across the state, they are included for the most part. Not all districts have their 8th graders take Algebra 1, but we do with a third of our kids. So our highest third are not included in this data. So you can see we still have a lot of work to do in middle school. And I'll talk a little bit about kind of some action steps with regard to middle school math here in a minute. One final board goal, progress measure goal, was around CCMR. And CCMR is college, career, and military readiness. And there's been some change at the state level in how this is tallied and what the expectation is. You can see that our goal for 2024 was 83%, and we're at 79%. This is lagging data, so this is actually data that is a year behind. And the way we get points for this is through our students taking the TSI and having a qualifying score on the TSI, which helps them to get into college. AP, IB, if they are a completer in a CTE pathway, we get a point for them there. And then there's some career and college readiness courses that are also embedded in their English and their math courses that we're able to get. And if they take those courses, we get points for that as well. So we're continuing. One of the things that we've done around this, because of the changes that the state has made, is we have formed a CCMR committee across the district that includes a group from each high school, and we meet monthly, and they are tracking individual juniors and seniors to make sure that every student has an opportunity to get one of those CCMR points. Just some action planning around what we are doing in order to continue to work towards meeting our goals. In the area of RLA, we are really focusing, as I said, on writing instruction and looking at the rubrics and the types of prompts that are being asked and making sure that our teachers and our students understand how to tackle those. We're using those high quality instructional materials and doing some calibration walks around it. We've been getting feedback from our teachers, and we've had committees of teachers. This, just in the last month, 3rd through 5th grade, our teacher committees have come in and given us feedback on areas that they feel like we need to really focus in on, and so we're working to build that in. We have Content Co-op, which is our training each 9 weeks, and we're kind of modifying that for next year to be differentiated and to have 2 pathways, one for veteran teachers and then one for our brand new teachers, to make sure that our new teachers are getting more direct instruction in the teaching of math and teaching of reading. And so that's one change we're making there. With math, because that is really our department's heaviest focus for next year will be math. We will be using all the same curriculum, K-5, and that was the one the commissioner mentioned this week. We're also making sure that we're pulling in and getting that teacher feedback, continuing to allow them to give us feedback on what we can help fix and honestly make easier for them in their delivery. And then we have a grant where we're getting some additional support from the service center. They're going to be coaching not only our teachers, but they're also going to be meeting with admin at the elementary level once a month to really work through some of the changes in the math instruction and make sure that we are getting help with the curriculum as it's needed. As I said, we're monitoring that CCMR data, and then we're continuing to just actively train our administrators and our teachers around those high-quality instructional materials and how we internalize those lessons. Do you have any questions for me?
Not a question, but maybe a request for future.
Yes, sir.
I'd love to see those same numbers, but compared to Amarillo, Abilene, Midland, Odessa, districts that I think are in our same demographic per se, and area. Because looking at the complete state, I don't want us to just try to beat the state like that.
We can do that after the taper reports.
Yeah, no, whenever in the next few, just at some point to see how we're doing compared to our closest peers that I think are in the same
Absolutely.
boat.
And then as we look at that data, if we see discrepancies where somebody is, higher than we are, then we need to reach out and be able to find out what are they doing differently and how, is it something we can replicate?
I can tell you anecdotally, I don't have the numbers, but we all had a little bit of a pity party over some of those.
Yeah.
So, not pity party, I shouldn't say that, but just, I know they're seeing some
I
similar.
would have seen those math scores were horrible.
Yeah, a little bit of it. So our next goal, that was a new addition, that you added was around family engagement. And I want to give a shout out to Krista Ritchie, for the incredible work, that she did to gather data that we're looking at here. So the goal around family engagement is that we're looking at educational opportunities. So although families attending a football game is incredibly important and exciting, an educational opportunity is when parents come into the school and have the opportunity to learn something about helping and to support education to be more successful with their child. And so when you look at this goal, the goal that you set was to see an increase of 25% at both the district level and at the campus level. And I'm sorry you can't see it. I don't know how to flip it. But thank you so much. But I'm excited to report that you'll see our overall elementary had an increase that was bigger than 25%, along with our middle school and along with our high school. So our campuses did an incredible job offering multiple opportunities for families to come in throughout the year to have that chance at educational opportunities. And inside your data, you have a spreadsheet that is by campus to show you by campus to dig in and look at those different educational opportunities and see those that they logged and that they turned in as well. This is a learning experience for our campuses. We're trying to help them understand what it means to have an educational experience. What does that mean to tag that onto something you're already doing where families are in the building? And then how do you keep track of that over time? But we're really excited that this is a beginning goal that has just been started, and we're seeing some great improvement around that across the district. Yes, ma'am.
So can you give me an example of, is that like having a information session on how to apply for college?
It could be, absolutely. It could be an all-pro dads meeting. It could be a Head Start meeting where we have pre-K families and students, parents come in and talk about reading opportunities, things you can do in the grocery store with kids to count, to make sure that you're working on skills. There's a large variety. And one of the great things is Krista has done a really incredible job of working with a family engagement liaison at each campus and educating them with opportunities and ideas of what they can do to make that happen.
So an example might be if a campus held a pastries with parents, and parents just came and sat down and ate a pastry with their child, that's not really an educational opportunity. So campuses are making adjustments to add an element of
It's
parent
educational.
education, whether it's how to do a read aloud with your child, or I know some schools have even done, here's what the STAR test looks like, and the parents
Or
have
they,
practiced taking
they're
the
bringing
STAR.
in speakers to come
Bringing
in
in
and
that
visit
Even when
and
they do
teach
the
them
donuts
something.
for dads, they actually have
Absolutely.
somebody speaking.
Absolutely. We've had people from the community come in and teach skills that are supporting our families. But the goal is, number one, to try to get our families into school, but then also to try to give things that support education with our students. So that's the goal, and we were really particular in the way that the goal was written, and the support that y'all gave around the goal to say this wasn't just about a ticker tape of counting the number of families that came in, but actually giving them that experience. So we actually have some data around how many people came to the Valentine's parties too, and that's exciting to see as well, but we really want to track those educational opportunities for
Did you
families.
put those in here?
Yes, it's linked in the presentation that is in board book.
Okay.
And y'all have, if you want to see it by campus, you can see it in there as well.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
And it's only on board book? That you said?
We'll make you a copy of it.
Yeah,
Yes,
thank
ma'am.
you.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Thanks.
Okay, so your next one.
Can I say one thing?
Yes.
I want to brag on this team over here. And Christy was just nominated and accepted to be the Region 17 representative for a statewide family engagement committee. So we're excited to have her representing our region.
Nice, congrats.
Yes, we're really excited, and we really could not have done this work without what she has done to really help our campuses and to educate. So it's been very exciting, and I know she met with many of you in committee, so you got to see a deep dive into lots of great information and things that she's doing, but we'll keep that in front of you as well. The next goal that you have is around a reduction of teacher turnover. This is also lagging data. This comes out in our taper report. So what you're looking at is a report from 2023 showing that your goal was a reduction that we reduced down to 14%. We were actually at 22.9. As of today, I don't have a prediction to give you of where we will be for 2024, but we can give you an update once the taper comes out and we have the official documentation around what that teacher turnover rate looks like.
We had a conversation, if you'll recall, last year at our team building about how that whole goal may need to be revisited.
Mm-hmm. There's some opportunities. The next one is around FFE and the amount of donations that come in. You'll notice that there is a decrease this year in the amount of donations, but not significant. It's actually held pretty steady from the FFE golf tournament. And so I think it still has been incredibly successful. I think we had some interesting weather, maybe for those of you that were out there in the golf tournament this round. I know those things can impact that part of the process as well. But we want to give a huge shout out to our CCR committee and our department and to Phyllis for the work that they do around that work. The next one is around Community Partnership Forum. So this is participation in both the Community Partnership Forum and the Superintendent Roundtables. You'll see that we had a growth from 332 participants to 393 participants. This has been a really great opportunity to involve our community, to have a greater opportunity for education around what it looks like to be a part of the school district, and what it looks like to have all of those elements and to get into our campuses and see what it is that we do. So, do you have any questions about any of those?
Only what we talked about with the roundtables, Kathy, doing them earlier in the year.
Yes, we did not have any in the fall, and we are adjusting that.
But I think I think it was a wise move going to places of business. The attendance
That's
this
been
year
great.
was far better.
And we're also grateful for those businesses because they all sponsored the lunch, so that helped save some money for us
And
as well.
it's great to see what you're saying about looking at different time frame, but we actually still increased our numbers. So we had just great attendance even for the things that we had. So that's exciting to look at.
Nice.
Yeah.
Good to know.
So the next section of goals are around school support services. So I'm going to turn it over to Kami.
You gonna tell us about FERPA?
No. No, I'll save that for the very end. If you want me to add it to this presentation? Yeah? Okay.
Nothing else to do.
You can tell him one by one, okay? We're good to
Okay.
go. Yeah, we're not doing that.
So you're asking for a tutorial?
Yes, that's what
just
he needs.
for
We don't. We're good.
Trustee Curry. Okay. Good evening, President Bridges, Board of Trustees, Dr. Rollo, Mr. Reber. No, I'm just kidding. Okay. I want to start our presentation first for new board members to first kind of describe the area of our organization that oversees what we call student behavior support. Just to kind of let you know, we have what we would consider a full continuum of services in Lubbock ISD as it relates to discipline and behavior. The last couple of years, we've worked collaboratively and I would say laboriously to bring people in positions together that oversee our entire student population. So not just taking into consideration students receiving services, but also those in general education who need support as well. So you have directors who oversee our student and parent resolution areas, and that's Brian Ellison, who works with not just resolutions, but also appeals to our DAP programs, and then also with our principal of PIA. And then you have our director, Martha Dodge, and both who are behind me supporting this presentation and who probably next time will present, and I will allow that to happen gladly. But both experts, they meet regularly as a team. They meet with me. They also meet between each other. And then we also have our director of our REACH program, Lisa Bryant. Something powerful about this organizational structure is that as the students working their way through our tiered support systems on campuses, and they need more, or they need a referral to 504 or special education, then these people make sure that that system is sound and fluid and that services are expedited on behalf of the students. And so in this division, we have behavior specialists, school psychologists, and a behavior facilitator. So with that, last year, we have worked diligently to see our numbers decrease in regards to the overall amount of discipline incidences that we have in Lubbock ISD. So a lot of this data is going to be 3-year comparison data for you. Many of you are used to seeing this data, but those of you who have not yet seen it, I will describe it. The green line is this last school year, and so you can see that trend line from week to week, and we have approximately 40 instructional weeks in our calendar year. You can see that the green trend line trends down. We can also pay attention to any patterns in the seasons that we go through as public educators, from transition to Christmas break, transition to spring break, etc. You can notice that our kiddos respond to those kinds of events. Our next slide shows you incident type. The large number of things that are reported are minor discipline incidences in the classroom. They're managed in the classroom, and if they're not able to be managed in the classroom, then they're managed by through an office referral. And so you can see the number of incidences again is trending down for this last school year. We also track police restraints, incidences of bullying, any time we investigate a bullying incident, and then also what we call crisis prevention, nonviolent physical crisis intervention, otherwise known as restraint, and those have to be tracked for students with disabilities receiving special education services by law. The next slide, you're going to see the number of disciplinary placements that we have. The first one is expulsion, and so those are our students who are referred to our juvenile Justice Alternative Education Program or Lubbock County Juvenile Justice Center, which is the residential placement MOU that you approved earlier. And then our out-of-school suspension data and our in-school suspension data. So you'll notice that our ISS data is trending down. However, the use of out-of-school suspension remains steady. We have worked, and credit to Martha Dodge, we continue to talk about, even though our incidences are going down, so is our enrollment, and so it could be attributed to that. So Martha worked to show you in number that even though we have a 7% decrease in our total enrollment, we actually have a 26% decrease in the number of incidences that we've had. So it's above the fact that we have lost students, and could be attributed to the support structures that we're putting in place district-wide. You will see, though, that we are trending up in elementary by 393, and then you see the numbers for high school, middle school, and the overall reduction of discipline incidences district-wide. So we like to break down the data for you to show you the actual behaviors that we track or discipline incidences. And so for elementary, our top 3 behaviors are inappropriate physical contact, which could include little, shuffle in the hallway or in the line, or sitting beside our peers in class, to insubordination, which is essentially a high level of refusal behaviors, to simple violations of student code of conduct, and then it trends down from there. And so most of our incidences that we report exceed 1.5% of the total number of incidences. So it's not the top 3 are the ones that rise to the top in regards to that. What this can help us with is conversations in our professional development and our work with campuses on what kinds of behaviors or behavioral systems do we need to put in place to address the behaviors that we're seeing most occurring. Middle school, our top 3 behaviors are insubordination, violation of student code of conduct, and profanity. Profanity can include some cussing. It can also include some gesturing or any kind of verbal abuse. Obviously, in middle school, our frontal lobes are not fully developed, and we're given some good trials of use of words and vocabulary, and so we try to reshape that in our big systems like the hallway, the cafeteria, the classroom. People are smiling at me, you can stop, etc. And I'm sure none of you in here have had ever a violation of that particular offense.
Track it back then.
Some people might track that. And then at high school, our top 3 behaviors are truancy, insubordination, and violation of student code of conduct. I will tell you, we're going to be taking great efforts and strides to reduce truancy in this upcoming year, which also includes our issues with attendance. And so that is something that we'll be focusing on, and I'll talk about some of those systems here in just a second. So overall, our 3-year change in our behaviors that we are measuring is insubordination, which we are proud of. I don't know if, 3 years ago when we were reporting insubordination, the numbers were increasing at a pretty drastic rate, especially post-COVID, and so we're glad to see those trending down. We do have a small kick up in student code of conduct. We also have a kick up in our use of marijuana, and obviously that can be attributed to the epidemic that we have with THC vapes. And so this isn't the old school marijuana. This is our THC vapes. And then you'll see the other trending numbers going down. And so incident by grade level, as many of you already know, the largest number of incidences that we have occur in middle school. But we had previously had an increase or an uptick in 10th grade, but that number this year trended down for us. Our administrative responses can include punitive responses like removals, also could include positive responses like conferences, restitution, or restoration. And you'll see the numbers there where they're trending up is out of school suspension. Restitution went down 395 and conferences went down 1,860. And so digging into that data with our campuses and asking why that may be. So if they had a decline in enrollment that would be substantial, that might explain to us why we're seeing a reduction in conferences. But if that's not the case, then it may be that we need to shore up our systems for communication with our parents. Conferences can include a conference with a parent, or conference with the student, or conference with both. And so that number is a combination of all of those. And then the use of detention is also a number that we see has decreased. So the way in which we're choosing to refine our systems based on this data from last year moving forward is that we hold summer positive behavior intervention systems training. Martha leads those conversations with all of our principals in what we call their PBIS teams, which includes a group of people responsible for implementing their tiered systems and tracking everything from a school-wide system to a classroom system, which students are categorized as Tier 1, Tier 2, and then moving into Tier 3, how we're responding to those individual students, whether or not they need to be referred for additional services. We also have what we call campus handbooks, and so at any given time, if you wanted to see a campus handbook and the systems that they have in place, their monthly meetings, when they meet, their running agendas, their 9-week data that they look at specifically according to what's occurring on their campus, and then also the systems and responses that they're to put in place based on that 9-week data, those are available. We also offer through the Student and Behavior Support Division ongoing coaching. We have a system through the leadership of Misty Reber by which our Tier 3 campuses, we complete what we call systems walks or behavior rounds, where a team of people go out onto the campus and we watch the cafeteria, the system in the cafeteria, the interaction the students are having in the cafeteria, their structures and how they move students in the hallway transitions, what classroom management looks like in specific classrooms. Principals can point out to us teachers who may be struggling and need support with their own classroom management and whether the fidelity of systems are in place in certain classrooms. And then we're also focusing, there is a gnat that's loving me right now. I'm just letting you know that. So if I swallow him, I'll just ask that maybe my tea be brought up. But social emotional behavior support services are those services that are provided to our students who qualify under IDA and are in our special education settings. We have a critical components checklist. It's an instructional framework that we use for the systems and processes that we like to see in those classrooms, as well as what we like to see happening in the general education setting for those students. This year, in place of, if you remember, we used to receive funding through Covenant to help support our student behavior specialists on our campuses. So we have campus specialists whose primary focus is on everything that I just described, and being a part of the administrative team to monitor students through the tiers, to help teachers with classroom management, and to help individual students, especially those at the more Tier 3 level. We have 17 campus specialists that we will continue funding, although we have more. I believe we have 27. We use Title IV funds, our federal funds, to fund some, but 17 of them this next year are funded through a state grant called the Stronger Connections Grant that we applied for. So one of our goals and items that you all have charged us with in the past is sustaining this effort, and so we continue to apply for grants and pray for funds to keep this particular intervention and resource going. We participate in a statewide committee. We have quarterly checks with the state regarding our goals for this particular program, and then we have to report how we're making progress towards those goals. We have a collaborative agreement with the service center who check in on us, and then this is all about building capacity within those leaders on those campuses to ensure principals are supported with their efforts for both behavior and discipline on each of those campuses.
And are those 17 campuses selected on criteria of, okay.
Yes, ma'am. And we are happy to show you how that they're chosen.
I assumed that, but I
all
wanna
of,
make sure.
yes, discipline data, subgroup populations, high need situations, yeah,
Okay.
all of those things. Achievement scores,
Yeah.
everything is looked at. We have 4 social workers in Lubbock ISD. Dr. Rolla has mentioned this in previous board meetings. We have a partnership with ECHO of Lubbock, who's focusing on serving families experiencing homelessness through a centralized process of serving them and us contributing to the conversation about submitting data to the state to ensure that we're able to better serve our homeless population. We've applied for the Texas Education for Homeless Children and Youth Grant, otherwise known as the TEACHY Grant, which will help us provide basic needs and resources for our families. And so we kind of have a continuum of how we provide those services. And so you can see our social workers connected with 899 families this last year, just a single contact to offer resources to them or refer them to community services. Ongoing contact with 289 students. A large majority of those are unaccompanied youth who do not have a family at all, many who are bouncing from house to house, or what we call couch surfing, and then case management, where we're legitimately staying engaged with the family all the way through until there's no longer a need. Special education, this is just the raw data information for how many students are placed in social emotional behavior support services across the district. We offer those services on 7 elementary campuses. I'm sorry, not 7. Yeah, 7 elementary campuses, 6 middle schools, and all 4 high schools. And so you can see those numbers by feeder pattern of how many students are accessing those services. Our 23-24 goals under Martha's area are listed, and so obviously implementation of how our campus behavior support specialists serve their role through coaching and support. Our end of year data shows a reduction of 27% of our discipline incidences, and so we've met that goal. By the beginning of 24-25, the number of DAP discretionary placements, which we have control over, we don't have control over mandatory, but we have control over discretionary, will decrease by 5%. Our end of core, one of our areas that we do look at are the students that are receiving special education services. That number increased by 27%, but we did see an overall decrease of discipline placements at PIA and JJAP by 23%. In regards to the special education number, I'll say that we are currently sitting around 18% of the number of students in Lubbock ISD receiving special education services. And so with that increase, you're going to see an increase in the number of students that are referred to DAP. And then you see fidelity of implementation of our subsystems. And we are currently developing quantifiable ways to show that we're meeting the components, our critical components objectives, and so that's a work in progress. And then increased funding for our students experiencing homelessness, and so we've had a 9% increase there, and then we applied for the Teachy grant. These are our continuous improvement opportunities that we're looking into. We are currently developing a kinder transition program to support behavior. We are focusing on early intervention and identification through the process of which I described in our organizational structure, increased opportunities for training through classroom one-on-one for all of our first-year teachers, the PBIS training that I described. We're working heavily with PIA and also ACES, which is our alternative program for elementary students, to refine systems for intervention. And then we are currently working on more innovative ways to provide psychological services through what has been a staffing shortage. That's the student behavior support section. So if you want to all take a big deep breath, we'll head into discipline. You good? Okay. Our DAPs consist of PIA, otherwise known as Priority Intervention Academy. I've spelled all of them out for you. ACES, JJAP, and LCJJC. Try to stay awake back there behind me. Our current PIA numbers, you can see where we show the most need, and that is 6th, 7th, and 8th grade, especially 8th graders. And so one thing that we have done at PIA is to add paraprofessional support to those middle school sections to support those students in middle school while they're at PIA. You also see our returner data, so how many students have gone back to PIA a second time, a third time, or a fourth time, and what's happening with those students. This is just a breakout by offense. So you can see 46% of our students are going to PIA for drug offenses. That's about, the next column you see is 162 of those students did not participate in our drug intervention program. Of the 162, 57 were not participating because they also had ongoing persistent misbehavior inside of that. And then we also had 45 parents opt out. 20% assaults, 1% of our offenses are due to terroristic threat. 77% of the overall placements at PIA are for mandatory reasons, which usually involve higher level assault behavior or drugs. And then our current discretionary percentage is 23%. We track our 7, 8, and 9 to see what percentage of the population is actually middle school. And then the current percent of our district enrollment who actually end up needing Priority Intervention Academy is 0.59. And so only 0.59% of our total student population access Priority Intervention Academy. And then you can see the breakdown of the numbers from there with the total of offenses down below. This is broken out by previous year and then by 9-week period. So first, second, third, fourth 9-week period. Are we seeing a reduction or not from the previous year? And you can see by grade level, by 9-week period, whether or not we had a reduction in the number of students going to PIA. So you've got, we've reduced everywhere except first 9-week, 10th grade, and 6th grade, the second 9 weeks. Our 6th graders were a little more heavy than we'd like for them to be. This is a breakdown by campus. You can see the number of students once they rise high in regards to their total percent of campus enrollment. We're also tracking their returners to see how many students from specific campuses are returning to PIA and why. Making sure that they have connections back to campus that are engaging the SST process, the 504 process, the special education process, or other community wraparound services to try to prevent behavior in the future. Our continuous improvement for PIA is focusing on our middle school behavior intervention, reducing the number of placements that return to PIA, improving our transition process back to the student's home campus, focusing on creating systems of accountability, instructional support and growth for our teachers and staff. We just had principal PLC today where Tyler Trout, our principal, was sitting with teaching and learning, talking about creating a system for intervention for reading and math, and making sure that our teachers who are responsible for instruction at PA are engaged in the same processes as our general education teacher, and then improving communication with our parents and our campuses, and then within the team itself. Our drug intervention program, otherwise known as District of Innovation, started in November of this last school year. So this is the data for what we have so far. We're still continuing to refine our processes for collecting this data, as we're still not even out from a first year of implementation. But you can see, as of current, we had 235 placements that were made, 45 who did not complete the program, which means they didn't meet the criteria that we asked them to meet, so they were not allowed to complete, which also meant they were placed at PIA. But 81% of our students who went through the drug intervention program ended up completing the program. You can see what those placements look like by high school, middle school, and high school. And we're still working on making sure we understand why a student may not access the drug intervention program, whether it's parent opting out or other things going on with the student that would prevent them from being able to attend. But again, this is year one. Year two improvements will be focusing on data tracking, parent participation, and Zoom meetings with Texas Tech Health Science Center drug counselors, ongoing monitoring of our peer support group that's offered at OL Slayton in the evenings on Thursday and Friday, and campus support, in particular with nicotine vape offenses, and addressing that through evidence-based curriculum activities during in-school suspension. So we're putting together, Brian Ellison is putting together a local developed curriculum so that if a student is placed in ISS for a nicotine vape offense, they go through a rigorous curriculum that educates them on the use of nicotine. We're depending on our state for those resources. Some very interactive, pretty highly engaged activities that are online for them to complete. Nothing like looking at your side profile. Do you have any questions for me?
This was about 20 minutes ago in your presentation, but I just want to make sure I heard you right. Did you say we have 18% of students identified as SPED?
Yes, ma'am.
And the cost of educating those kids is significantly more.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. I thought I knew a lot about this district, but 18% kind of takes my breath away.
So we were 11% about 5 years ago.
Yeah.
The state went under an investigation by the Office of Special Education Programming. Texas was not including students with dyslexia under the IDA umbrella. And dyslexia is a specific learning disability. So the state asked Texas to evaluate, and if they qualify for special education, which could include anything like Take Flight, or a research-based intervention program where we're pulling students out of class 5 days a week for 45 minutes, now is special education. And so all of those students have unilaterally, over the last few years, been placed under the IDA umbrella. We're also subject to being an urban school district where we have more students coming in with higher medical need, but also with being in an urban school district comes a population of students who may have other needs as well. That may include, autism or being a student with an intellectual disability. We are also in the neighborhood of Texas Tech University, the Burkhart Center for Autism Research, and other resources that parents are going to come and access because they know that they can get quality services. They do cost more, and it's dependent upon the instructional arrangement code that the student receives. They get ADA plus a weighted funding code. We get paid more money for mainstream students, less for those that are self-contained because of the way that the funding structure currently exists. We stood up through T-CASE and a legislative task force a new funding structure for special ed that would allow school districts to report to the state the actual level of support a student requires and weight it based on services and not just where they're sitting, which would have elevated the amount of money that a school district could receive. And that was going to pass, except that vouchers were tied to it. And so as a result of us not passing vouchers, we also did not pass a new special ed funding structure. And I can get on the voucher platform if you'd like for me to, but I'll hold on that one.
Let's don't do that.
Yeah.
Cammy, you done? Nancy?
Oh, yes,
sir. Okay, and we've talked about this before, and I know that our court system's kind of, they're overwhelmed too, but what can we do to the parents with respect to truancy? Are we reporting them? Are we doing, are we doing whatever the max of the law we can?
Yeah, we absolutely are. After 10 days of absences, parents are getting letters through a system that we call A2A. And after 5 more absences, they're being referred to the court. The courts are through a process, talking to the families, talking to the parent. They're currently working on a partnership with the Office of Dispute Resolution, where the parent then would attend a meeting with the student, and the Office of Dispute Resolution would help support what would be a plan, an intervention plan. Holding families and students accountable to seeing that through is difficult, especially if we're not staffed at the county level or the city level to be able to see that through. But our attendance officers are constantly engaging in those conversations. Our students who hit the criteria for attendance a meeting at the district level, those are occurring. ABIPs are being created, which are attendance behavior intervention plans for students. But as far as true punitive accountability, no. And even if parents are fined, if they're a more marginalized household with no resources, they're not able to pay the fines. And so you would have to begin arresting a large number of family members or guardians and holding them accountable through that kind of punitive approach to get their students to come to school. We are, though, again, looking at how we can help shore up those systems this next year. Another thing that we're doing that we haven't done in the past is Tim and Brian and I are meeting every Thursday, and we're looking at specific student cases. Martha and her team work with Brian on students who are experiencing homelessness. A large majority, if you break out our attendance data by campus, by student, a large majority of those students are students who are experiencing homelessness. And so the ones that are contributing the most to our attendance issues are those subgroups that struggle the greatest. And so we know that we have a lot of work to do, but I don't think that there's a whole lot of teeth on the court side to give a very long answer.
What, is there anything else we can do? Again, I hate to be blasting the parents, but for a kid who, and we talked about this last time you presented the data, but for a kid who visits PIA more than 4 times in a given year, do we not have the ability to remove them from our general population? I mean, because the amount of services that we're providing to that one kid is taking away services from hundreds or thousands of kids.
So a kid who's a returner 4 times is probably mandatory. And so we are engaging the tech code, the Texas Education Code, by removing them. And so they are not in the population. They're in the alternative education population. So they are removed. Now then it comes down to looking at your ability to refer them to JJAEP. JJAEP takes a higher level of offense. So if I'm a kid keeping the same level of offense, going to PIA, yet it's still staying in the mandatory category, then I'm going to stay at PIA. It will take a higher felony, Title V felony offense, truly to go to JJAEP unless the behavior while at the DAEP causes serious misconduct. And then there's a definition that we have to pay attention to when it comes to serious misconduct that then allows us to refer them to JJAEP. But only can we refer to JJAEP if we've put interventions in place at the DAEP. That's why it's so important that while at PIA, we're not just utilizing punitive approaches, but we're also engaging intervention on behalf of the student so that we can elevate that. And I'll say, you know, every single kid, it depends. It depends on all kinds of circumstances on what the best track is. Whether or not they need to leave the DAEP system and go to Dupree is a question mark. Whether or not they need to stay in the alternative education system, because that's where they're best served. That's where the most structured environment is for them. That is where their best case managed. Or whether or not they need to return to the traditional campus with intervention, with 504 services, or with special education services. And what I'll say is stack Lubbock ISD up against any school district and ask whether or not we're looking at every single kid in this capacity, and we're making every attempt to. What we do need to shore up is the transition back to our traditional campuses. We worked very close with Carolyn Thompson this year in Dupree and increased our number of students being served there, and also increasing the intervention that's in place at Dupree. And so there's still avenues by which we can take. But I will say, if you've got you're returning 4 times, it's probably because it's mandatory and necessary.
And we
It's
still need to serve 'em.
114. It's the second returners that we really need to take a closer look at.
I appreciate you saying that, the fact that you're still serving these kids, because we don't know what's going on in their household. You guys do, because you guys have done your due diligence. I want to just say to our attendance officers, Jennifer and Diana, they're phenomenal, you guys. They go out there, they speak to the judges, and the new judge is there is Frank Gutierrez, and he's been working a lot better with them this time around. So, and you know that firsthand. I know that because I'm involved with the court. You know what I'm involved in, the board that I'm involved in at the county. And you guys have got to see those statistics that are going on. And I wish that they would. Brian goes to some of those meetings from time to time. And I think it's important that we continue to have that partnership with them, because that's how we're going to know what's happening on the county side. Like Diana and them, they have a great plan with these new judges. Not that they didn't with Aurora, but, you know, there for a while it just was the same thing over and over. I think Frank Gutierrez is doing a lot better at this point.
Engaging ODR is not a bad idea. It gives an additional accountability system to the parent or the guardian and the student. It's just the follow through. It's always the follow through. So if they're not completing that intervention and they're not being called back to court, It's the follow through on that side. I think they would like to engage the district more in the ODR process. The problem is I can't call a principal off a campus, 3 times a day to go work with ODR on a student case, nor an AP. So is it an attendance officer who's also supposed to be out in the community tracking the other families that are struggling to have their students attend? And so the capacity issue is at play in this conversation as well.
And that's their biggest downfall, you guys, is the parents. That's the problems they're coming across. They just need to be held a little bit more accountable, and they try, believe me, they really try, but it doesn't work out sometimes.
One other thing that we haven't done yet is engage like urban collaborative. I know Dallas ISD released a parent training program by which parents have to go through the training program. I don't know what the criteria is. I don't know what offenses are for or how they're holding the parents accountable. But I sent that article a couple of days. We'll dig into that as well. But to build on what we're already doing, we have to decide what are we going to strategically abandon or what are we going to sacrifice to be able to make it happen.
Thanks for not giving up on those students.
Oh.
They need you guys.
That's
and
what we do.
Vice versa. Thank you.
Thank you, Kami. All right, moving on to our last workshop, our STAR results. Miranda, come up here.
Save the best for last. Okay, thank you. Good evening. President Bridges, Board of Trustees, Dr. Rollo. Today I have the preliminary 2024 STAR results. Final results are not due in the district until mid-July. However, I don't anticipate any changes. Just a quick review. These results are used to calculate our STAR performance scores, which are used in both Domain 1 and 2B. I want to clarify that these results include all students and that tested with us in the spring, whereas accountability only takes into account students that were here with us for snapshot and testing. So there are extra students included in these numbers that wouldn't count for our accountability. Okay. Each of you does have a 22-page report in your handout, so if you want to bring that out, we will be discussing some of those results on that page, on that report. We are starting with elementary, and we're going to save the first 2 pages on your report, the summed results, for the end of the presentation. So if you'll please flip to the 3rd page for the 3rd grade reading results. Okay. Each of the following slides includes state, region, and district comparisons, as well as top campuses in both performance and growth when compared to 2023. Feel free to stop me if you have any questions or need more time. Okay, here we have 3rd grade reading, RLA, so 3rd grade RLA. As a district, we were very closely aligned to the state and outperformed the region. Our top campuses in performance were Smith, Roberts, Roscoe Wilson, Ramirez, and Miller. And then for growth, our top campuses were Wheelock, Bayless, McWhorter, Roberts, Roscoe Wilson, and Parsons. Okay. Again, I'm going to go through these, but you stop me if you need me to. We're moving on to 3rd grade math. The district evenly matched the state in approaches and meets, but outperformed the state in meets and all levels in Spanish. The top campuses for performance were Roberts, Smith, Wilson, Whiteside, and Ramirez. And for growth, Parsons, Harwell, Irvin, Bayless, and Wheelock. For 4th grade RLA, We were slightly lower than the state in English, but the Spanish testers outperformed the state. And the top campuses in performance were Ramirez, Smith, Honey, Whiteside, and Wilson. And in growth, Irvin, Williams, Honey, Roberts, and Hodges. Fourth grade math. We were lower than the state in English, but our Spanish testers significantly outperformed the state. And again, our top campuses for performance are Stewart, Ramirez, Roberts, Wilson, and Honey. And for growth, we had Wester, Honey, Stewart, Roberts, Williams, and Irvin. For fifth grade RLA, the district outperformed the state and approaches grade level. And again, our Spanish testers significantly outperformed the state. And our top campuses were Wilson, Miller, Ramirez, Smith, Hardwick, and Whiteside. And for growth, McWhorter, Harwell, Parsons, Bayless, and Bean. For fifth grade math, the district outperformed the state in both English and Spanish. And our top campuses were Machen, Miller, Wester, Smith, and Whiteside. And for growth, we had McWhorter, Brown, Bean, Miller, and Wester. For fifth grade science, again, the district outperformed the state for both English and Spanish testers. And our top campuses were Miller, Smith, Hodges, Wilson, and McWhorter. And for growth, McWhorter, Wester, Bean, Wheelock, and Alderson. And moving on to middle school. For sixth grade RLA, the district was slightly lower than the state, and our top 4 campuses were Talkington, Hutch, McCool, and Evans. And for growth, McCool, Cavazos, Irons, and Dunbar. For sixth grade math, the district performed slightly lower than the state. Our top campuses were Hutch, McCool, Talkington, and Evans. And for growth, Hutch, McCool, Dunbar, and Evans. For seventh grade RLA, our scores were slightly lower than the state. Our top campuses were Talkington, Hutch, McCool, and Evans. And for growth, we had Cavazos, Slayton, and Talkington. For seventh grade math, district scores were higher than the state. And our top campuses were Talkington, McCool, Hutch, and Cavazos. And growth was Cavazos, Talkington, and McCool. Eighth grade RLA, the district was less than the state scores. Our top campuses were Talkington, McCool, Hutch, and Evans. And for growth, we saw Atkins, LCJJC, Cavazos, and Irons. For eighth grade math, the district was below the state, but our top campuses were Talkington, Cavazos, Hutch, and Evans. And growth, Cavazos, McKenzie, Atkins, and Hutch. We have eighth grade social studies. The district was lower than the state. But our top campuses were Talkington, Hutch, Evans, and Atkins, with growth for Cavazos, Atkins, Evans, and LCJJC. And our final area for middle school is 8th grade science. The district was lower than the state, but our top campuses were Talkington, Hutch, McCool, and Evans. And for growth, LCJJC, McCool, Slayton, and McKenzie. Moving on to high school, we have English 1 EOC. We have the English 1 district scores were lower than the state. Our top 3 campuses were Talkington, Lubbock High, and Coronado, and growth at Talkington and LCJJC. For English 2, district was slightly less than the state. Our top campuses were Talkington, Lubbock High, and Monterey, and we had growth at LCJJC, Monterey, Talkington, and Lubbock High. Algebra 1. There are district scores a little less than the state, but for campus, the performance, we had Talkington, Hutch, and Cavazos, and our growth was McCool, McKenzie, and Atkins.
Miranda, do all students at McCool take Algebra 1? Or do they take, all students at McCool take Algebra 1?
All
so
8th
not
graders.
Okay.
That's correct. Biology EOC. The district results were slightly less than the state. Our top campuses were Talkington, Monterey, and Lubbock High. And for growth, we had Monterey, Lubbock High, and Dupree Academy. And finally, for U.S. history, the district results were aligned with the state, and the top campuses were Talkington, Lubbock High, and Coronado, with growth at Coronado. And finally, going back to the first 2 pages in your report, those are the summed results for all grades and subjects. When we add the approaches, meets, and masters percentages together and you divide by 3, that gives you our raw domain 1 score. And so you can see overall our top campuses for elementary, we had Smith, Wilson, Miller, and Ramirez. And growth, we saw in McWhorter, Hodges, Wheelock, and Hardwick. For middle school, our top campuses were Hutch, McCool, and Evans. And for growth, we had Cavazos, McCool, and Hutch. And then high school, we had Talkington, Lubbock High, and Monterey. And the growth, we had Coronado, LCJJC, and Lubbock High. And that concludes the presentation.
Well, it looks like we need to teach our kids in Spanish because the Spanish learners are doing so much better.
They are doing
Yep,
wonderful.
They're phenomenal. They're
They
doing
are.
great. So, yeah, we might want to think of that.
It's our dual language program.
Yeah,
It is.
they're awesome. Thank you.
You're
Quick
welcome. Any other
question.
questions?
When students, I heard you say that when students go to LCJJC, the other districts pay tuition.
But their scores come to us.
Okay, that's what I was going to add. I thought that's what you'd said before.
Yes.
But they, okay, wow. And so we have no choice.
Right.
Another district, especially if it's a mandatory placement, yeah.
And LCJJC is usually a court-ordered placement.
Always, court, yeah.
Yeah, they all are.
Yeah.
And LCJJC doesn't get an accountability
Yeah.
rating per se, so it's.
But their
It
scores,
goes back.
the scores come back to
Was
the
that in our
district.
deal?
The district.
Yes.
So then that does hurt us then, right? Is that what you're
Well,
saying?
we're not going to look at it like that. Look at all the growth.
Well,
they've
well,
had.
no, I told
Sorry,
you I
I
like
need
the
to
good, the
focus
bad,
on
and
the
the ugly.
negative.
We gotta be
Yeah.
realistic here, so.
Yes, their
Okay,
scores do count in our
thank you.
district scores.
That clarifies that. It does hurt us.
That's all. I just,
Thank you.
That's
And so
great
we'll
job.
have maybe some more data in July, but we still have last year's tied up in the court.
Yes.
We have
yes.
the raw data, but we don't have accountability
any
ratings
accountability,
for
okay.
last year.
Correct.
Would it be fair to say broad data is worse than last year's broad data? Specifically in math?
In math, the
Math.
numbers
Math.
went down slightly in math, but overall, I feel that we've stayed pretty consistent. We'll see some increases in elementaries in some areas, but it's not drastically different.
Reading's better.
Reading's slightly better, and there's some growth in math, in some of the math.
Yeah.
You'll see.
Thank you, Miranda.
Thank
Appreciate
you.
your time.
Work to
Thank
be
you.
done, for sure.
Definitely.
Okay, we do have need for a short executive closed session. So an executive closed session will be held under the provisions of Texas Government Code Chapter 551. It is
You're kidding,
8:50
right?
p.m.
You're kidding, right?
and we are adjourned to executive closed session.